Hello, and welcome back to another episode of It's Just That Simple, a podcast where we make the complicated simple. And I had this idea for a very, very long time. The title quote, family, friends, not food. If you're familiar with Finding Nemo, fish friends, not food. You'll get it. You'll get it. If you don't, look it up. You'll get it. And of course, as I talked about it before, this a topic of saying that family can be also friends. Family can also be a safe space. Family can also be a sense of peace, not a sense of challenge or a place of unsafety. It can be a place where open honesty and acknowledgement and acceptance can bloom and blossom. But how do we get there? How do we get there? How do we create a space where we can make ourselves feel like the people in our lives, the people that we grew up with, the people that have birthed us, the people that have didn't even birth us but are adjacent, our relatives, our chosen family. How do we make them not a particular, I was going to say the word enemy, but I think that's too harsh, especially when people in our lives that we grew up with and that nurtured us or didn't, and we found safety for them and in them at a time. It's too harsh to use a word as enemy, because no one's an enemy. I think it's more of a kind of frenemy. Frenemy? Is it a frenemy? I'm going to leave it there for that perspective until I gain more perspective later throughout this podcast. But I say that title because the biggest thing, especially, I've seen something. I've seen a lot of things, especially. I think that everyone in the world has some type of dynamic within their families, chosen or not. They have a dynamic, a ritual, a experience, a sense of this is what it is. This is how it's going to be, spoken about or not. This is the dynamic of what I call family. There's a quote by one of my favorite astrologers, and it says, "Trauma in a person decontextualized over time looks like personality. Trauma in a family decontextualized over time looks like family traits. Trauma in a people decontextualized over time looks like a culture." Let that sink in for a little bit. And what I mean by these type of dynamics, these type of rituals, these type of ways of being and just saying this is what it is, and we latch on to it. Sometimes okay with it, sometimes not. And we make it who we are. As I learned to be loved for myself, it's natural to ask of the people surrounding me, but in the sense of version of you, for that same love that you give yourself. As you are healing, it's a ripple effect of change that has to happen to create a whole, full feeling of healing, being healed, feeling safe. And when you feel safe in yourself or creating safety within yourself, you look towards others and you ask yourself, do I feel safe? What makes me feel safe? What makes me feel loved? And going based off this quote, I think that a lot of families, chosen or not, have trauma. Obvious. Have trauma. So much trauma. Societies, cultures, countries have trauma. Nations have trauma. On a singular level, we have trauma. I have trauma. We all have trauma. You get PTSD. You get a traumatic experience. You get a traumatic experience. Let's all hand them out. Give them free. Let it all blossom and bloom in a way that it's not necessarily the harvest we wanted, but it's the harvest we got. We are the kind of the manifestation of our upbringings, of our systems, of our places of reference, our senses of home within ourselves and with the places that we called home, depending on our journeys up until this point. The thing that I realized as loving myself, demanding to be loved in places where I felt I wasn't, was a necessity, was a need. It wasn't this type of this little inkling or appetite or desire. It was a hunger. For a little backstory, I live with my mother and my great aunt. She's turning 99. Isn't that lovely? And my sister, my twin sister at that. My brother is right up around the corner. My aunt is 15 minutes away. My grandmother used to live here, but now she lives down in the South. And I was always surrounded, and this is just only on my mother's side. On my father's side, still here in different places, but it still needs to be more harvested and sustained. And I was always surrounded by people, by family. I think it was important to me. I grew up very, very quickly by taking responsibility. Both of my family, or both of my parents, grew up in a sense of, I didn't say grew up, but I grew up in a sense of illness with my parents. My parents were ill from time to time, my father mostly, and then my mom for 10 years. And it was a lot of responsibility, a lot of emotional navigation, a lot of me not focusing on my needs, me not even understanding or navigating what my needs were. My family was also a very, in the sense of my immediate family, very, 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 very immature. Did the best they could, but not what was needed. Very argumentative, very volatile, very scream, 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 scream. I learned how to find pleasure in the madness, to laugh about disrespect, to find humility in patronizing and condescending tones and depreciating someone's existence or experience. From my father's side, his family, what I've known and what I've seen and what was very make fun, laugh, make jokes, talk about this person, talk about this person. There wasn't a lot of emotional vulnerability there, and he wasn't really an emotional vulnerable person. That nurtured and created a household where there was emotional vulnerability of my mother, but also not even me knowing the depth of my father. He died 5 years ago, and was it 5 or 7? 7 years ago. 7 years ago. I said 5. 7 years ago he transcended, and a lot of the healing I've learned and I loved into was after the transcendence of my father. After I had to really, really get it. I had to really understand, snap into myself. Chosen initiation for the self-perception of what I am, what makes me me. But for what makes me me, I had to look up where I came from, where I was inhabited in. And then it's just like, oh shit. That wasn't okay. That wasn't okay. And I can look into different references where I can say that, but look into your life, look into your journey, look into your past and say, if you grew up in a sense of relating trauma to a family dynamic, it could be trauma within friends, it could be trauma within the outside society. But if you do have trauma in any form, look back at it, especially if it's in family. Society can be feeling of nature versus nurture type of thing. So look into that too and say, that was not okay. That was not okay. Me not feeling like I had the depth and love and vulnerability from my father was not okay. Knowing me now, I would have asked for more. I would have demanded more of himself. But by demanding, sometimes you meet people's triggers, you meet people's defense mechanisms, you meet with what they are not willing to meet with themselves, and it can feel, it can feel aggravating, it can feel frustrating, it can feel like, oh my God, this is just too much. This is a lot. This is not me. This is everything but. This is everything, but it's not. I can't, I won't, I cannot contend to my own personal sense of I want more, I need more, but can I get it from here? Can I get it from my own senses of just longing and desire, of dreaming of, for me, a daddy that had the depth that I wanted, that had the love that I deserved, a mother that had the patience and the impartialness to her journey to not project onto mine. Do we all have that? Do we all have that? Do we all have it? Is it just me? What makes me me in my beautiful curated journey? Is it just me? Is it just what makes me me? Cover girl. Is it me? Is it me you're looking for? Yes, trauma it is. I learned that being vulnerable with myself, me even getting to that point of saying, that's not okay. I had to meet myself with my own self-respect. I had to meet myself with my own self of deserving more, loving more, needing more what I want, which was love. And we can't even, we don't even have to do it in the sense of only in these places of our life. We always meet ourselves with what we deserve, what we think we deserve, what we think we're made of, what we're capable of, what we're meant to have, what we're meant to feel. I think that me choosing vulnerability created an expression in myself that like kind of longed but hungered in me to see that in the people I care about. To manifest that in my, not just how I feel in my body and about myself, in every single person I care dear in my life, that I choose to have in my life. I wanted change. I wanted more me. My legs were hurting, so I had to reposition. The cramps. I wanted to look at my life, see everyone in it, and see me. I wanted to see the love I gave myself. I wanted to see the momentum, the magnitude of what my love felt like. And this wasn't just in family. It was in friendship. It was in romantic interest. It was when you look at it, and when I did look at it, it did look pretty slim. Be like, damn, potential. Damn, this is not looking like what I want. I just grew my nails out a little bit longer. I just painted them too. I like this little clicky clack noise. Makes me feel like an office secretary. This little clicky clack. It's like, this is not what I want, but it has the potential to be something more. I had to learn that potential. I had to learn that falling in love with potential is not enough. I have to learn that, yes, people can change, but only if they want to. If they're willing to. If they want me in their life, they must change. I learned that living with my family gave me a beautiful opportunity to face myself and to face the love that I wanted, that I longed for, and I know that they longed for. The feelings that sometimes, when, especially with my family, yelling and screaming was the only way we can get our heart heard. Not in soft-spoken words and comforting phrases. It was condescending, opinionated, judgmental, like daggers and stones thrown at each other. And we called that love. We called that respect. But if we actually said those words out loud, we would realize that wasn't respect. That was disrespect. That wasn't love. That was just impartialness. It wasn't a sense of peace. It was a sense of feeling like you're constantly walking on eggshells. To really meet with the real issue is saying we have to love better. As I was learning to love myself better, had this kind of just like I would say initiation, but it was more of a sense you arrived. Face it, meaning I must learn how to love other people better, but I must teach them how I want to be loved. And it took time. It takes time. It's a continuous process, baby. It takes time. But it took my vulnerability. It took me to cry. It took me to lay out my heart, to say, hold people accountable. It took me to say, I felt hurt for what you said. Your choices affected me. I felt hurt for what you did that made me feel less than what I was. Is this something I'm projecting onto you to make me feel better, or is it something that I had to hold in myself and shift and change? And love myself and hold myself, but I can ask for support from the people that I love. For a long time, I was afraid of my emotional vulnerability, my capacity, my veracity, my sense of saying that I love so potently, so I asked for so much more. I had to learn to be okay that my emotions were a safe place, not a sense of a landmine for conflict, a reason to have confrontation. I had to learn that confrontation is not a scary word, or conflict is not a scary word. It does not mean that I will be abused or hurt or disrespected. Confrontation, but it can be like a conference. Confrontation means that I am confronting someone about how I want to be loved, and they're confronting me about how they want to be loved, as we're learning about each other's love. And we curate and change and shift. And conflict means that we meet our conflicting ways of being and we find harmony. We find peace if we want that. If we want to be in each other's life, we must constantly conflict. We are constantly being conflicted on a day-to-day basis, not just within our families, but within society. We see something that either triggers or feels not acknowledged, or feels like it's not my way, it's your way, but our ways don't match. How can we understand, love, and learn better? Heal better? Be more vulnerable? So with learning those things, I made myself more me. with learning those things, I had to allow myself to be me, and what I was a lover. And what comes with love, it comes with braveness and courage and freeness. Love is just not lollipops and rainbows. It's sitting in the uncomfortable, the sad, the feelings of shame, which aren't shame. It's just guilt. And guilt is just acknowledgement. Take accountability and do better. I know there are a lot of families where accountability is not a big thing. Accountability is something that you think you have to fight for, yell for, literally, or just ignore, opt out of it. Stay silent and keep on feeling like you still have to take it all in. I see a lot of things I saw on Instagram because it was the holidays and it was Thanksgiving and different things. It was just like, you guys probably seen it too, where it was people talking about like, what they would say to their relatives at a family dinner that either chooses to be opinionated or judgmental or ask them a question that makes them feel uncomfortable or triggered, unworthy and unloved and unseen, unlistened to. And it was just all this violent backlash, like, you shut the F up, you did your man's cheating on you, and your macaroni cheese sucks, you know. It's like all these different things where it was just like, is that what you want? That's not what I want. I don't think anyone wants harm in places where they want to be loved. I don't think people want to disrespect people that want to be loved. And I can sense the sense. It was like, well, you have to tell them how it is. You just got to be real. Is being real being disrespectful? Is being real meaning that you can't bring compassion? I've learned that the only way to ask for what I want is to move towards love. I must ask of the people and of myself, what do I want? What do I want from the connection with myself? What do I want from this connection? What do I want from this connection? Not just burped. Not in a narcissistic way. Not in a sense of me. It's a we incentive. A community incentive. Where love takes both parties, all parties, to work together to love better. What do you want from the connection with yourself? And what do you want from the connection in the people in your life? Sometimes we carry this big umbrella about how we feel, and we take it to every single person. We make it detailed and kind of confusing. I feel this way here, but I don't feel this way here. I've learned that by being vulnerable, asking for what I want, especially within the family, gives me a sense of acknowledgement, gives me a voice, gives me love. I'm being seen and heard from myself first. I hear my plea. I hear my call out for better love, more nurturing love. First, I noticed that. But secondly, by me asking for what I want, I get a clarity that I move towards love. So let's give an example. Let's just say you are any person. Focus on relatives or family members or chosen family, people or groups of people, but let's go into more specifics. Who comes into your mind of people that you want a better love with? You have them in your mind. If you do, take a little bit more time, but I'm going to keep on going forward. And then ask yourself, what do you want in that connection? Let me give you an example. For me, how I navigated what I wanted in connections. I discovered what I wanted to feel. Well, how I wanted to be loved. So, for an example, let's just say in one particular connection, I wanted to feel safer. I want to feel safe in this connection. I want to be heard in this connection. I want to feel appreciated in this connection. I want to create a connection where there's zero judgment, sympathy, and so much warmth that we can move in more ways past our own trauma, but towards more love. I want more ease in this connection. I want us to both take more accountability in this connection, so you can better understand me and I can better understand you. I want time. I want more time in this connection. I want more of you in this connection. I want to feel more of myself in this connection. How does that bring about more of self? It can be, I want to feel room to speak without pushback. I want to feel like I can have a voice without critique. I want to feel like I can express myself without opinionated projections. Getting clear about what you want from the people in your life, especially family, but it can also go with friends and different things, gets you a more softer, self-realized response to what you want within every single relationship that you have. It's not confusing, it's not jumbled, it's not rooted in a sense of resentment or hate or feeling of confusion and aggravation. It's not rooted into pain. It's rooted into, I'm here for a reason, and I want to love you better, and I want more love in this connection. And sometimes, which is a really big truth in this, that sometimes when you ask for what you want and they can't give you what you want, especially when it's family, it's disheartening. Knowing that people change in their own time if they're willing even to change. How can you find peace in someone's stubbornness? How can you find peace in someone's willingness not to love you better because they're not willing to love themselves better? That can just feel like you're banging at a door that won't open, but once you open up the door, it's a brick wall, but once you knock down the bricks, it's just a void. And you're just like, where are you? You're just like, you can't find me, ho. You can't find me, bitch. You can't find me and hold me accountable. It can feel like, what am I supposed to do? Because I really want these people in my life. I really want this person in my life. I really want myself in my life. And I think they come with honest, I was about to say hard, but it's not hard. It comes in soft and compassionate. honesty, true loving honesty, comes with so much it feels like warmth. Because it's healing, it's embracing, it's revealing. It can feel like a sob. It can feel just like a weight that you were carrying on your back is fully just let go. And that honesty I was saying is saying that it comes with the honesty that you may have to release that person until or if they're willing to change to what you want. And as we love, as we heal, as we grow, we get more clear about what we want, and it gets a longer list or just more expansive perspectives or more ways that we can be ourselves and more ways we want to be loved and more ways that we love others. And sometimes they have to learn how to catch up. Don't let that be a deterrent. Let them learn. Let them take their time if they're willing. Let them know that you know how to love, but you must teach them. If they're willing. If they're willing. Do not be afraid to be a stranger in a place where you want to call family. Speak who you are. Don't be afraid to make other people feel unsafe and uncomfortable from your loving, warm truth and honesty. If people feel shaken up from the accountability that you're asking to create more love, allow them. Allow them to take accountability, because only beautiful, beautiful relationships come from owning and acknowledging and taking accountability for how you affected another person, directly or indirectly, consciously or unconsciously. And I think that that's how you create better love, more warm love, more tangible senses of you. When you look outside of yourself, you feel yourself. You hear yourself. You see it. You're like, wow, that's the love. And it takes time. It's taking time for me, and it took time. But the vulnerability and the asking for what I wanted for myself gave me what I wanted, because I was willing to ask it of others and they were willing to give it back. Gave me the life that feels the most safest, calmest, relaxed, and simple, rational. When irrationality was a default, rationality came a kind of conclusion. And I'm just so grateful for that. And I hope for anyone that is feeling that it's a hard or maybe challenging or difficult space to say that or experience that with the people that you care about or you call family or chosen family or that you love in any type of form of relationship, to yourself, to life, or others. Give yourself patience. Give yourself time, and give them time if they're willing. And know that love is always the direction that we're all in. But maybe sometimes they just are not aware of how much love they have to give themselves to be loved by people that know how to love. So thank you for listening. Love, 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 love. And I'll catch you in the next episode.